we need to talk about what just happened behind closed doors in Indianapolis. Because, while everyone's been distracted by playoff seedings and all-star selections, the digital breadcrumbs are pointing to something that could completely destroy Caitlin Clark's championship timeline. And it all starts with one explosive prediction from Candace Parker that has the fever front office in absolute panic mode. I'm Jax Riley, and I've been filtering through the noise all week, connecting dots that mainstream media either missed or deliberately ignored. What I discovered will change how you see Kelsey Mitchell's future in Indianapolis forever. We're talking about a potential betrayal that could leave Clark emotionally devastated and strategically handicapped right as her championship window should be opening. But before we dive into the devastating details, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this is the kind of insider intelligence that other channels simply won't touch. They're too busy chasing surface-level drama while the real story unfolds in executive offices and agent phone calls. Here's what we're uncovering today. First, the Candace Parker bombshell that sent shockwaves through the Indiana organization. Then the digital detective work that reveals just how real this threat actually is. And finally, what a Mitchell departure would do to Clark's psyche and the Fever's championship aspirations. Trust me, by the end of this breakdown, you will understand why sources inside the organization are describing this as their absolute worst nightmare scenario. Let's start with the bomb that Candace Parker dropped that has everyone reading the signals differently now. Okay, now let's get into rumor territory. Nothing is officially confirmed, but the online chatter is too loud to ignore. During a recent media appearance, Candace Parker made a prediction that sent the temperature of the online conversation through the roof. She specifically called out Kelsey Mitchell as a prime candidate to join the Golden State Valkyries in 2026 free agency. Now, Parker isn't some random talking head throwing out hot takes for clicks. She's a former MVP with deep connections throughout the league. When Parker speaks about player movement, executives listen, and her reasoning was terrifyingly logical. Golden State is building something special with their expansion roster. They have cap space. They have championship ambitions. And they need a proven scorer who can create her own shot. Mitchell checks every single box. But here's what makes this prediction so dangerous for Indiana. The Fever have publicly tagged Mitchell as a priority resign. Their cap sheet shows $657,000 in space, which should be enough for retention under normal circumstances. But what Parker understands, and what the Fever front office is now terrified about, is that this isn't about money anymore. It's about legacy. It's about being the primary option versus the secondary piece. And that's where things get psychologically complicated for both Mitchell and Clark. Follow the digital breadcrumbs here. Mitchell has been Indianapolis's leading scorer for years. She averaged over 18 points per game last season and was the go-to offensive weapon when games got tight. Then Caitlin Clark arrives and suddenly the entire offensive ecosystem shifts. Clark becomes the engine. Mitchell becomes the complementary piece. For some players, that transition is seamless. They embrace the role. They find new ways to impact winning. They buy into the bigger picture. But I've been reading the signals, and Mitchell's body language tells a different story. There's been a subtle shift in her on-court demeanor this season. The way she calls for the ball, the way she reacts to certain play calls, the way she engages during timeouts. It's not dramatic or toxic, but it's noticeable if you know what to look for. And what I'm seeing suggests a player who's still adjusting to not being the primary focus. of the offense. That brings us to the inevitable question. What happens when Golden State comes calling with a max offer and the promise of being their featured scorer? But here's what they missed in all the contract speculation. The real story isn't about money or market dynamics. It's about Caitlin Clark's emotional investment in this partnership and what a Mitchell departure would do to her championship mindset. I've been following Clark's interviews and social media patterns since she entered the league. And there's one thing that stands out. She talks about Mitchell differently than she talks about other teammates. There's a respect there, an acknowledgement of Mitchell's scoring ability and veteran presence that goes beyond typical teammate praise. Clark understands basketball history. She knows that championship point guards need elite scoring partners. Magic had Kareem, then Worthy. Curry has Thompson. And Clark sees Mitchell as that potential championship sidekick, the reliable scoring option who can take pressure off her shoulders when defenses key in on stopping her. Official sources won't tell you this, but if you follow the digital breadcrumbs, a different picture emerges. Clark has been actively recruiting Mitchell in subtle ways all season. The way she sets Mitchell up for shots, the way she celebrates Mitchell's big baskets, the way she defers to Mitchell in crucial moments. This isn't just good teammate behavior. This is a superstar trying to make her co-star feel valued and essential. And that emotional investment makes a potential Mitchell departure absolutely devastating on a psychological level. Think about it from Clark's perspective. She left Iowa as the most celebrated college player in history. She could have gone anywhere, played with anyone, but she bought into the Indianapolis vision specifically because they had pieces like Mitchell already in place. The plan was to build around the Clark-Mitchell backcourt dynamic with Boston, providing interior presence and role players filling in the gaps. Now, imagine Clark finding out through media reports that Mitchell is seriously considering Golden State. Imagine the betrayal she'd feel, knowing that all her recruiting efforts and emotional investment meant nothing when a better opportunity presented itself. But the story doesn't end there, because what happens to Clark's championship timeline if Mitchell actually leaves? I've been filtering through advanced metrics and roster construction data, and the numbers paint a terrifying picture for Indiana. If Mitchell walks, this isn't just about losing a scorer. It's about the complete dismantling of their championship infrastructure. Let's break down the basketball reality. First, Mitchell isn't just averaging 16.6 points per game this season. She's doing it on 45% field goal shooting and 40% from three-point range. Those are elite efficiency numbers for a high-volume scorer. More importantly, she's proven she can create her own shot when Clark is getting double-teamed or when the offense bogs down. That shot creation ability is irreplaceable in today's WNBA. You can find role players who will run the system and hit open shots, but players who can consistently generate offense against set defenses, that's superstar territory. And superstars don't grow on trees.